Welcome into a huge edition of the Cavalier Connection, where tonight we will be joined by one of the most successful quarterbacks in Virginia football history, the last quarterback to play for Coach Mendenhall, and the first quarterback to play for Coach Elliott, none other than Brennan Armstrong. That interview happens right now. Welcome into another edition of the Cavalier Connection. I'm Jeff, joined by Jay and El Jacko again tonight. How's everybody doing?
Doing great. Excited for our guest tonight.
We got a good one tonight. And former Virginia quarterback, record-setting type quarterback, Brennan Armstrong. So I'm excited to talk to him. Before we get started, I did want to speak real quick about our friends over at Mentzer's. Who's fans? This Saturday, UVA will be celebrating. Who we celebrating this Saturday, Jack?
We are celebrating the man himself. I got the t-shirt on, Tony Bennett.
Coach Tony Bennett and all he's done for the university. And you, too, can join in on the celebration with one of these sweet 5 Pillars t-shirts from Mentzer's. The shirt highlights Coach Bennett's 5-pillar values:
5 pillars.
Thankfulness, humility, unity, passion, and servanthood. Along with his coaching accomplishments are on the back as well. So if you're heading to the game this Saturday too, that's a must-have. What a great way to attend the game. If that's not for you, there's many other options out there at Mentzer's. Jay's wearing the sweet Virginia basketball jersey, just like the Hoos wore when they upset Pitt this past week.
That's right.
They've got an amazing assortment of hats, just like the ones myself and Jay are wearing. If you want a hat, if you can't find a hat at Mentzer's, you'll never find a Virginia hat, because they have every sport, every kind of Virginia hat you could even think of. When I was picking out a hat to purchase, I was up and down their website. Then I ended up going to the store. I was like, I got to touch all these hats. It was just hard to make a selection. So sort of hats. Don't miss their orange tag sales. We've definitely taken advantage of some of those as well. There's something for everyone. They've been the go-to UVA sportswear since 1948. Go to Mentzers.com or go to one of their 2 locations, one at the corner in Charlottesville or in the Stonefield Shopping Center. Show that Who pride. Go Hoos. And welcome in. Tonight we have the honor of speaking with one of the most successful quarterbacks to ever play football at the University of Virginia, Brennan Armstrong. Brennan, thank you so much for joining us. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. Thank you guys for having me on here.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
So before we get started, I'm going to kind of run through, you set all kinds of records while you were at Virginia. I'm going to run through some of this. Let me know if I'm inaccurate, but single passing game record against UNC, season passing record in 2021, career passing yards of 9,034, single game total offense 538, season total offense 4,700, career total offense 10,301, single game passing touchdowns 5 against Illinois, 31 touchdowns in 2021 for the season, 58 career passing touchdowns, 18 consecutive games with a passing touchdown, 200-yard career passing games 25, 12 300 yards, 6 400, 326 passing completions in a season, 500 passing attempts in a season, 1,131 career passing attempts, and 6 single game touchdowns you were responsible for against BYU. And you were a lot of fun to watch.
I appreciate that.
So did I hit all of that?
I try to play the game that way. He's entertaining.
Oh, yeah. A tough quarterback. So when you hear all those records, and honestly, there's so many more, 4-time ACC QB of the week in one season, 3 straight games over 400 yards passing. UVA never had 3 consecutive 300 prior to that. How does that make you feel?
It's cool. I always forget about it. I know here and there it'll get brought back up to me. And, I just enjoyed, I guess, when I look back on that season and that, all the success we had, I just look back at the joy I had playing with the guys around me. You don't even remember all that was happening. You just remember certain moments, like different plays throughout the game. The stats just came with it all. But yeah, just going back to that year and those, those games, I just remember the guys and how much fun we were having. And that's why we came back in 2022 to do it again. Or what was it? I think it was 22 to do it again.
2022.
Yeah, so that's what I look back on, really. That's what I remember the most about all those numbers, and I don't really remember those things.
Yeah.
But obviously, it gets brought back up here and there, so I'm like, man, I think as I get older, I'm like, wow, yeah, as I got, a couple years go by, I'm like, wow, I kind of did that. It's kind of crazy to me, but it is what it is now to me. It's like, 3-4 years ago? So
yeah.
I'm sliding by now.
Oh, it was a lot of fun to watch. So we'll get back to the big moments, but going back to your high school days in Ohio, what made you choose Virginia coming out of high school, and were there other offers that you were seriously considering?
Yeah, so I chose Virginia basically because of the coaching staff. I thought they had a plan for me. I knew that I was wanted there. I knew I'd have an opportunity to play. I knew that Bryce Perkins was coming in. I knew I'd be able to learn and sit behind him and just soak everything in, get my feet wet. And even as a freshman, I got to pop in there here and there. Even as a sophomore, I got to pop in here and there. I think that was beneficial, but not just throwing me in right away. And even in 2020, even though it was COVID year, it was still a decently successful start to my career. I was like, there's a lot of craziness going on, but I was like, I'm pretty happy with it. And obviously the next year after that, it transpired to what it was. But just the plan that they kind of had laid out, I knew what I was kind of walking into, just work my tail off, learn, and when opportunity presents itself, be ready to go. And so that's just kind of how they kind of laid it out for me. We used to call it the quarterback, run the quarterback a bunch. They had Taysom Hill back in their day with the coaching staff. So I kind of enjoyed that. That was part of my game. Obviously part of Bryce's too. And so that's kind of what I was looking for. And so, yeah, that's kind of really what made me want to choose to go there. And then other schools, I was committed to Minnesota, and then I decommitted from them very late. They were not happy with me about that. But very late, deciding to go to Virginia. And then also I was kind of considering North Carolina. You guys might not like that one, but obviously
glad you made the choice you did.
Those are the 3 schools that I was really picking between. Honestly, it's funny, give Coach Tujay, obviously he's NC State now, but he was the one that just kind of kept it going and kind of got me to get there. It was one of those things. So.
Gotcha. Yeah. So you mentioned Bryce Perkins. When you got there, you got a close-up look at him for 2 seasons. What was it like being around Bryce every day? What do you think you took away from him the best?
Just how to handle everything as a quarterback. I was 18 years old, 19 years old, and I don't want to overshoot his age. I'm not sure how old he was, but he was well older than me, at least 3 or 4 years, I'm going to assume. And so I just watch him handle all of it. It's not easy handling playing to preparing to the stuff on the field to the stuff off the field. And he just had such a good attitude going about it. And you could tell he just really enjoyed being around the guys. And he just came in to the building and just worked every day. And that's what I just saw. I knew working hard for me was an easy trait. I guess I had it going in. I knew that was going to be part of it. But just how he handled how he was handling the building with each person he came across, just kind of watching that as he went and even just watching him play. I was in the room with him 24/7. It felt like there's probably small things I'm forgetting and that I picked up on, but just the overall how he was around the guys and around the building and around the people and just how he handled the game.
Yeah, so you were a part of that magical 2019 season. I think that you guys finished with 8 wins. You beat Virginia Tech, got to the Orange Bowl, got to the ACC championship. When did you guys know, specifically in the season, if there was any point, how special of a group you guys had together?
See, I wasn't playing as much. I was dabbling in the 2 quarterback things, but we knew that I could just tell. I was young, though. So looking back now, I have a perspective on it as an older guy, being kind of like seen it all, done it all, feels like through college. But, man, having like Alameda, Joe Reed, Bryce Hall, Jordan Mack, just Eli like Hamback, like those guys like that were just like the older group that kind of grinded it out for those last 2 years with like Mendenhall, or 3 years. I'm not sure how much or how long they had with them. They just kind of it was there. We had a good defense with a complementary offense with defense. It just kind of worked. You could just tell they were playing really well together. When I look back at it and why that team was so good and why they were successful, like that's what it was. They just played really well, all 3 phases, and yeah, it meshed really well. And you're able to win big games when those things happen.
Yeah.
So 2019 was a magical year, not just for football, in basketball as well. You know, that was the national championship run. Were you friends with any of those guys, and how much did you follow basketball? We
followed them because we were in spring ball. And I remember the Purdue game. I remember the Auburn game leading up to that. We were out having good times out there. It was awesome to watch them. And obviously, I remember trying to get this right, but in spring ball, we'd go a day on of practice. The next day would just be like a lift meetings. So on off, just kind of through the spring ball schedule. And we knew we had practice that Monday, I think, because they played on a Monday for the national championship.
Yep, Monday night. And
we had Tuesday off with no practice, just meetings and lifts. So we were having a good old time. And then when they won, like a bunch of my good buddies that I'm still close with today, we sprinted down to the corner, and that's where iconic picture of like the corner house, like crowded it was. Well, we were like in that picture. Just
that's awesome.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah. That was a really cool time, especially just you don't get to experience. Not everybody gets to experience that in college, like national champions, and so that was just super cool.
Yeah, as a lifelong Virginia fan, I'm 45, and I don't think I've ever cried at a sporting event. But if I was going to, it would have been that. It was just so happy. Another exciting time. Describe what it was like on campus after you guys beat Virginia Tech, and how much of a monkey. Like I remember watching, because Bronco broke the rock that game, and I just remember how awesome that video was of seeing you guys. But what was it like on campus, locker room, and all of that?
I mean, it was great. I mean, like you do something that hasn't been done. Well, at that time, what was it, 15 years and counting? I think.
Yep.
16, something like that. And you kind of feel like you're the big man on campus. It's pretty crazy. When you do something like that, everyone's like super excited. And just the morale, and like you could tell around the campus, like any big game, I always thought that when you win big games, you can change how the campus feels. Like, I don't know if that's just me because I was in it playing these sports or something like that. But to me, it just felt like the campus just felt better. Or campus, I say campus, grounds.
You're going to get yelled at by all the alumni.
I'm going to get torched. They're like, you left for 1 year and you're saying campus now? Oh, yeah, that's crazy. But yeah, on ground, you can definitely feel that, like, and that's how it felt after that win too.
Yeah, and I can say my old tail and Jack and my youngest son, we were on the field when that game was over.
Listen, Brennan, I'll never forget that one because that was the first time in my lifetime Virginia has beaten Virginia Tech. So that'll always be one of my most memorable sporting events I've ever been to.
Yeah, no, that was electric. That was a good time.
So in your third year in 2020, you take over as a starting quarterback coming off the Orange Bowl. A lot of momentum, and then unfortunately COVID hits. How hard was it to keep the team together and to train and get better during COVID?
I I mean, I wouldn't give any credit to myself. I mean, obviously they had a good plan in. Obviously the players hated it. It was like lockdown. But it was good for us to be successful. And, when you look back, we were able to play basically a full schedule of ACC games. Mm-hmm. I think we played every team in this schedule, right? And we got one game canceled with Florida State. But overall, we did a good job of just keeping guys healthy and trying to abide by the rules, but also like still push, because you still have to practice. You still have to train. You still have to get better. So honestly, just give credit to the staff, the coaching staff, the AD at the time. And so we just keep going. They just kept doing a good job of just figuring out ways that we could adapt and keep us somewhat normal. It was funny. They put TVs out in the indoor. So because we couldn't be in the building at the time, because we're too close. So if someone gets it, that's contact tracing, all that stuff. Right. So they put TVs out in the indoor so we could space out enough to where it was technically contact tracing, because we were our distance, all that stuff. Right. So it was one of those things. So they did a lot of stuff to keep us going. So honestly, give kudos and credit to them, whoever put that all together to make it for us.
Right.
So I think you guys went 5-5 that year, but then the following year, your fourth year is where you really took off, had one of the all-time great seasons, if not, as we've talked about, the greatest season in Virginia quarterback history. Did you see that coming before the season started, or was it just a matter of getting into a good rhythm and continuing the momentum?
I mean, I had confidence we had the right guys in the right spots at the right time. I had an incredible team around me. I mean, you look back at these guys and where they're at now and what they're doing now. It was just one of those things. We built it. Coach Mendenhall started the culture. We came in. We were 2 years behind them coming in or whatever it was, and we just followed the older guys, and we got to that point where they've kind of recruited some good, really great talent, and guys are really stepping into specifically our offensive, play style and schematics. So we got to that fourth year, my fourth year in the program, into the offense, and it just really clicked with everybody. Offensive line was stout up front. I had dudes everywhere on the perimeter, and so we just let it sing, and that's what kind of happened.
Yeah. On the offense side, you guys put up astronomical numbers, video game like, if you will. What made the game just look so easy? Was it just good execution, coaching, play calling?
I would say all of it. I think one thing I've learned, it takes definitely everybody. I will say, players do play. Coaches coach, players play. I think we had a lot of great players out there, so we were able to get things done even when things weren't great. And I also think we were giving calls to set us up into good positions. So it was easy for us. Instead, they might have a play call where wow, this is the perfect play call to this. And I had to drop back, look at one dude and let it rip, because the play call, the defense gave me what we wanted, and that was perfect. But I just overall, our guys were just really skilled. And that's what helped us on the offensive side. We really knew what we were trying to do, and guys were really good at it. And so we just got it done, however which way it was, it took.
Yeah. Who were some of the big personalities on that team? Is there any funny locker room stories you have that you can share?
Make me go way back. I'm trying to think. We had a lot of personalities, a lot. That's the locker room for you. That is what it is. I'm trying to think. I mean, KT, I think a lot of people got a glimpse of KT.
Keaton Thompson?
Yeah, everyone got a glimpse of KT.
I love that guy.
Everyone knew who he was. So, stories in the locker room, he doesn't change. He's always that down-to-earth, silly, all about ball, but has fun doing it. I'm trying to think of some other guys, just stories. This is terrible. I should have thought about this. This is a question that gets asked all the time. I should have known.
That's all right.
That's all right.
We asked the same thing to Nick Jackson recently, and
then it's okay, that's borderline. It's you can't say that. And then,
we didn't learn our lesson, because Nick said the same thing as you, and we said we should have asked him ahead of time and be prepared. I forgot to do it this time.
No, you're fine. I'm sorry we can't give the fans something interesting.
I forget, Brennan, who we had also on that said he looked and he said, "Let me see if my wife's around the corner real quick."
Yeah. That was a much older player.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So, of course, 2021 ended, dramatic loss to Virginia Tech. And in that game, you got banged up and you fought through. You were able to come back in, after you got injured. Of course, everybody wants to talk about the infamous pass to Haskins, the left tackle. So when that call came in, what was your first thought? And then two other things. Was that something that you guys have been working on and like saving it for a spot like that? And did you see something kind of on tape that made you think it would work in that situation?
Okay, so that call we've had it in forever. Like it's just been there. We knew it was always there, just never called it. Obviously, we get down to that goal line area inside the 10.
Yeah, I think it was on the 9. I think it was.
It was just outside because I don't think we could have got a first down. We either had a score.
Yeah.
And I got the call in, and it's one of those calls because I've been asked this question. I think as a quarterback, you trust what's called, and it's one of those calls that it's a ballsy call. It's a ballsy call. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. So I'm out there and I get it. I knew exactly what was going on. I'm looking, and it's better if they're in man, and they were in zone because the corner obviously rallied and just sat the entire time. And so I kind of knew I just didn't know. And it was one of those calls I was like, it's called, and this is either make or break. And it wasn't the last play either. I'm pretty sure it wasn't. I think we had one more.
It was not. It was not.
It was like, you know what? This is what it is. So do the thing, throw it back. And they were in zone, and this guy just rallied to it. I've always said a call that either works or doesn't, looks great, looks terrible. And it just didn't work, and it looked terrible on that side. So it's one of those plays.
Yeah, I kind of think I agree 100%. If it works, you look like a genius, and if not, you open yourself up to questions.
Yeah.
And it just didn't work. Their corner was disciplined and kind of sat on it. But so after that game, did Coach Mendenhall, as the quarterback, I'm sure you guys had kind of a special relationship. Did he let you know he was thinking about leaving before it was announced? And how hard was it knowing that, he wasn't going to be there anymore?
So obviously just told the whole team about it all at once. And, it was super hard. And it makes all the guys question what they're doing, right? It was really hard just because even though he made the program's difficult. When you go in, you learn everything. It was a hard thing, but it's good for you. At 18, 19, 20, growing up, trying to become somebody, it was really good for us. When I look back at that, it was difficult, but it makes us better. And just knowing that now, and when he came and he told us about him leaving, I was like, man, that kind of hit hard, even though some of the stuff we hated. That was we hated it, but it is what it is. And so, it was really hard on the guys. The guys were really shocked, very shocked. And it's his decision. He's been coached. We didn't know exactly what was going on. It was just he's been coaching a while. Whether they wanted to get rid of somebody, he didn't want to. He's a loyal person. I respect Coach Mendenhall so much, and he decided to do what he decided to do, and I'm not going to be upset about it. I can't be. That's not my decision.
Right.
But a lot of guys were shocked, and it was man, where do we go from here? And so that's kind of the in general reaction about the whole team when that came out.
So after that season, I believe you certainly could have went to the NFL. What were scouts telling you was likely around you would have been drafted, and ultimately what made you come back and play for Coach Elliott?
So I was hearing 4th. I think I would have been drafted. I think overall, I think I'd have been drafted. Because now going through that process, I was like, man, you can slip if you're not up on the board. If guys fall that are higher than you, then you could fall even lower. Just one of those things. So I think I would have been picked up, whether it would have been in the 4th, 5th, or 6th. One of those things. But when I wanted to come back and just do it again because I wanted to just be a higher draft pick,
right?
More money, that's what it was. That's your goal. You want to be better than what you were. In hindsight, I've been asked that question. Yeah, I probably should have left. Like, did what I did, like, go out on a high note. I think that's advice I guess I could kind of give advice, like, not like wounds that I have, but if someone asked me, I'd say, I think when you're rolling, you should probably roll and get out of there. Like, you're peaking. Like, let's go. It's time to give yourself a shot. You're at your highest to where you can be drafted. So I guess that'd be advice to someone that I could give. And in hindsight, I wish I did come out, but You can't do that. You can't look like that because that'll eat you alive. So I've come to terms with all that. But I had a heck of a time, even with Coach Elliott, even though it was a struggle. But yeah, it was still fun there. And then even, like I said, even my 1 year at NC State, like, it was still good for me too. Like, learned a bunch through that experience too. So
I know when Coach Elliott came in, I think the entire offensive line, which is, as you already was mentioning, how good they were, one of the best in the country, transferred out. Why do you think all of them decided to leave, and how hard was that on you as a quarterback?
Yeah, it was super hard. I mean, you have that much experience up there. I mean, obviously you saw from 1 year to the next. Love everybody on that team, but just what that does, like, you get guys that leave and have good experience that are really talented. It takes you back a few notches sometimes, and then it affects everybody's play. And there's no finger blaming at all. Like, I didn't play that great that next season with Coach Elliott. No one did, like, really. But those guys were a huge aspect. Like, I don't think they get the recognition that they deserve. Like, those guys kept me on my feet for like 4.5 seconds in the pocket. Like, you can't. Anybody's going to pick apart a defense when you have that much time. But I don't know. I mean, I've talked to multiple guys. It's funny. I just saw a bunch of them at Mandy Alonso's wedding down in Miami.
Oh, that's awesome.
So we were down there, and we saw some of the guys again. I saw, like, Bobby, Chris Glazer, Joe Biss. And so we were talking. You're like, yeah, I'm so, like, I missed you and all that stuff. So it's funny. It's a funny thing. And it's like, I feel bad. I'm like, dude, do not feel bad. It's funny because we talk about a bunch of stuff, but I'm not outing anybody. But I feel bad. And so it's like, dude, don't feel bad. That was your decision. Just like everyone else is making their decisions. Like, I would love for you to stay, but I'm not going to force you to. And you got to do what's best for you. And we kept talking about it, even at that wedding. We're like, nothing. Those 4 years that we were together, we're here right now together. Like, football was what it was. We're good.
Right.
We're good.
Mm-hmm.
So,
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's one of those, like, I'm not gonna be mad at you for it, but wish you stayed.
Right.
Right, for sure.
Yeah. So Coach Elliott constantly always praised you during that 2022 season as being a great leader when he came in, but he also talked about guys being 1 foot in and 1 foot out. As the back, kind of hard to get guys to buy into the program and to buy into that season.
Yeah, I mean, it was just difficult. New coach, right? Knew everything. Just one of those things. I was trying to be the bridge. I think I've said this before. And I've been asked that question. I tried to be the bridge of the guy that's been around the players the most, but also the guy that's trying to, still keep everybody in with the new head coach. I was trying to help that. Very difficult. Probably one of the hardest, times as a leader. It was that, just trying to get guys to buy into it. I don't really not have much more to say in that, but then it was really difficult.
Yeah. So it really seemed like that year you guys struggled so bad offensively. What would you say is just the thing that made you struggle the most? Would it be like the system and the scheme that's completely new offensive line, or maybe other factors as well?
Oh, man. I mean, I think the game of football, it takes 11 guys. And I've always believed the scheme doesn't matter. I think if you can get the best 11 out there executing at a high level, the scheme's going to work. And we just weren't doing that at all. The scheme was definitely different than what we were used to.
Yeah.
From even the new guys.
It was polar opposite.
Yeah, even the new guys that were coming in at O-linemen. Because out of the perimeter guys and myself and our running backs, we were pretty much the same guys. Everybody was basically back. But the new O-linemen, even them coming in, the scheme was just different. Even us were trying to learn the scheme. I was in there all the time trying to learn it, make sure I knew what I was doing, but none of it just clicked. There's a lot of just – it was just different. It was just different than what we were used to. We had a lot more freedom in our old scheme. This one was a little bit more timing based and, 1, 2, 3, just different things like that our last scheme didn't have. We were very free flowy in the air raid with Coach and I, and guys were really good at that. Like some guys pick up on that. Some guys need to be told like, hey, I need you to have like 5 steps here and then we're breaking. Like we were not that, but all of us weren't like that. We were just like free flow. Like we knew our routes, but we were going. This was very little bit more like, hey, this, which is so like normal across the board in some systems easily, but we just weren't used to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So with Coach Elliott and Coach Mendenhall, how were they similar and how were they different?
Different. Coach Mendenhall, very calm, very doesn't speak that much, speaks when he needs to. Elliott, a lot more energy. Will always be talking to you, whatever he can give you as pointers, learning, anything like that. He's always on you. Similarities. Let's see here. Obviously, both great leaders. They know how to lead. I think they lead with their faith too. I think that's important. As I've gotten older, I think faith is a very big aspect in whatever you believe in. They lead with their faith. You can tell they live their life by it too. So when you hear them talk, guys can easily see right through you. I feel like most of the time when you're speaking to a group of 18 to 22-year-olds, they can be like, yeah, whatever. I think for that sake, I think they're both similar in that. I think any head coach, you got to be good at 2 things: motivating your team and having a vision. And I think they both have that. It's just whether or not it gets there quick enough, or obviously as fans, we want winning seasons, we want all this, but like you can both tell when as a player and sitting in both of those, both with both of those coaches, they have a vision, they lead with their faith, and they're guys you want to follow, and I think that's what they bring.
Yeah. So Coach Elliott's first season, obviously your last season at Virginia ended with the tragedy. Yeah. And we always, we can't even begin to imagine how difficult of a time that was for you and your teammates. We recently talked to Nick Jackson, and he talked about wanting a fresh start after that and feeling like, his time at the university was just over. I mean, he had seen 4 classes, I think, come and go. You were kind of in a similar spot. Is that kind of how you felt? I know Coach Lanai ultimately went to NC State. Did he was he a reason or?
Yeah, I could go through that. Yeah. So when that tragedy happened, it took a long time. Like, it happened late November, and it took a while, like, for us as a team to like figure out what we wanted to do. And me and Nick were into that boat of like, what do we do next as like team leaders and guys that like, how are we moving us forward? Because like we were the players. Coach Elliott was so new that he kind of like was obviously with us and obviously for us, but as players, we were all there. We've known these guys forever. Yeah. And so it was tough because we had a bowl game also to decide on what we want to do. We had Virginia Tech game where we decided what we wanted to do.
Coast to Carolina.
And as players, like, it was me and Nick, and I remember obviously other guys stepped up huge too, but it was like super, super hard. Like, what do we do? Like, I'm down for whatever we want to do, and I know we all decided what we wanted to do at the end of the day. And I was perfectly okay with that. I was ready to chalk it up and say, hey, this is bigger than just going to play another game. But yeah, it was difficult. And so after all of that and all of that passing, I obviously hopped in the portal. I just felt like, one, I hung around there as long as I could. I tried to see it through, and it didn't work out at the end of the day, just where we were at. And I only had one more year left, and I was like, I got to either leave the NFL or just go to another place and just try it out one more time. And so I obviously went to the portal, tried it out, had Wisconsin, Oklahoma State, and then NC State. And now I got hired into NC State, and I was like, oh, man, like NC State, great winning program, great culture. I know that I'm familiar with the offense. I feel like I can just jump right in, right where I left off, and just kind of kick it into full gear and try to revamp what we did. So, yeah, I would say I love Coach Dorn, though. I will give kudos. I know I'm not sure how you guys feel about him, but Coach Dorn was another great coach. Like, honest, like, respect the heck out of him, too. Like, no BS, just straight up to you, like tells what's going on. And so that's kind of why I went to NC State too. Obviously, I knowing the offense, familiar with that, and then Coach Dorn and the winning culture.
So how strange was it coming back to Charlottesville to play against UVA? And was there any friendly trash talk?
Yeah, no, that was
you guys got to win.
Yeah, no, coming back, it was so like exciting but so weird at the same time because I'm coming into enemy territory. And like I'm like, holy smokes, I'm coming back into what feels like my home stadium. Like that's what it feels like. And so it was very odd. I knew it was going to be a dogfight. Like I knew I was going to get obviously Virginia's best. I remember Aaron Famili speaking about like,
oh yeah,
smack talk. Aaron got a hold of me one time. Obviously, he was chirping in my ear. And Butler was trying to take my head off. But yeah, there's a few things. It's so hard to remember these little moments. So fast. Certain things stick out. I remember Aaron like it was yesterday. I forget what he said, but I remember him getting a hold of me, and I was on the ground. I was like, really? And it was yeah, no, it was very odd, but cool at the same time. Like I was like, man, this feels good. Like to be back here.
That's good.
Yeah. So now that you're kind of finished with your college days, what is Brennan Armstrong up to these days?
Yeah, so I've stayed training all this year. I got to catch the end of NIL at NC State, so I told myself I'd give myself a year. I'm going to be all right, financially. So job wise, I can hold off. Really give this football thing a go. I'm still hoping to get signed into the UFL. We'll see what happens. I mean, that's up in the air. And if that doesn't happen, shit, this could be my job interview, guys. Like, I would say, hey, guys, I'm looking for eventually a job. Love the sports world and all that stuff. So, yeah, if that doesn't happen, obviously we'll still be training, staying ready. That's part of my life now. I love to stay ready, stay in shape and all that stuff. It's kind of an addiction for me, but I'd love to stay around the sports world, and we'll see where it goes. I mean, technically, I'm in that transition now. I've heard a lot of athletes, talk about their transition from their playing career to their, job. So yeah, I'm searching. I want to make sure because it's funny. I'll tell you a quick story. My dad works at a steel mill here in Shelby, Ohio, and he's like, "Dude, you got a blessing. You got out. You can pick and choose what you want to do. Don't get caught into the 6 days a week, possibly 7, like when they're working." So he's like, just find something you enjoy. And so I've always kept that in the back of my mind when I'm like still looking around or like figuring out what I want to do next. Like, let's find something I enjoy where it doesn't feel like work. So yeah, that's where I'm at. Honestly, it's a scary time. It's like, it makes me, anxious to go out and do more and more and more, but it's like, I need to make sure I'm going down the right path. So
yeah.
Have God. That's why I always bring up faith. He'll keep leading me. He'll keep me down the right path, whatever that is.
Yeah, and by the way, just talking to you throughout this entire episode and your responses, I really like your attitude towards all this. Like, you probably should have gone into the draft, but you can't look at it that way, and you got to keep working hard. I just really appreciate your attitude and how you still feel about all the stuff that happened.
Oh yeah, I mean,
it's great.
God has a plan. Like, it's so easy to get caught up because then you'll just build up stress, anxiety. Like, I've lived that life. Like, man, all the stuff you hear is like, let's just let it be. Let's surrender what it is, and he'll just keep listening to him. And it's hard to hear him. I'll tell you that it's hard to hear him. But he'll guide you. He will. I promise you. So
absolutely,
that's what I've been. That's how I've been going.
Yeah.
Nice.
So we did recently speak with Lo Davis, and he mentioned that you, along with Matt Schaub and Sean Moore, were kind of mentoring some of our current quarterbacks. Can you talk about your role with that? Yeah,
so Lo put me and Chandler Morris into a group chat, so I got to chat with him. Now that I'm basically out of the college world, I think I can talk to anybody, right? I think that's how it works.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, college world, whatever world, it's chaos.
Right.
You can do whatever you want. I don't know, but I talked to Chandler. I just told him, hey man, I'm fresh out of the biz. Like, I know what it's like. I'm here. Everyone always says, hey, call me if you need me. I'm like, honestly, like, if you have questions, I'm literally right here. I try to make it apparent. Like, everyone says, call me if you need me. Like, honestly, if you need something, I've lived there for how many years? 5, and I understand the way of how it is. Obviously, only 1 year with Coach Elliott, but still, like, if there's anything I can do, obviously call me. I'm not close at the time, but if there's questions arise, like, I'm there. So I just try to be another resource for him. Anything that I can do for him. I mean, he's going to have his way of doing things. That's how I always was. When someone said, hey, you can reach out, like, you keep going and going. You have your workouts, you have your day planned, just your schedule's going. So he might not ever, but as long as I try to reach out and help him out as any way I could, that's kind of what Lowe's set up for, us. And I think Bob and Sean's kind of closer. So obviously he could probably go out and get dinner with them or something. That's a good thing.
I'll say Schaub's in town, I believe. So. Yeah.
No, sorry. I was gonna say I knew they were back. Like,
yeah. Last question for you: is there any message you'd like to deliver to Wahoo Nation?
Oh man, I loved every second of my time in Charlottesville. I mean, I came back. There's no message here, but I came back to one of the games against Maryland. The greatest time ever. Just everyone was so nice and it was like, appreciate everything you've done. There was no bad blood, and it's like that's what I was hoping I'd get. Right. But it's exactly what happened. And love the fans. Love the community, love Charlottesville. Like, I mean, that was my home for 5 straight years. I mean, it's kind of the place that turned me to who I am today. And so, I mean, I love Charlottesville and definitely be back for games more and more. Like I said, I'd love to be around the program and just help out any way I can. I know, like, a lot of guys like to do that. Anyway, any impact they can have on the program to see it get better, or just help a guy out, like possibly Chandler or something. I don't know, anything like that. So, like I said, nothing but love for Charlottesville and their fan base, and want to trade it for the world.
That's awesome.
I want to say real quick, Brian. I know Jeff's going to take us out, but you, ever since we found out we were going to get to interview, I've been like a kid at Christmas. We've gotten to interview a lot of people that Jeff and I and Jack's young. He doesn't. I don't even know if he really understands. But Jeff and I, we always say if you'd have told our 15
I'm 18.
You're 18. You're super young.
But I always felt like you played the game the right way. You played hard, and you could just tell that you poured everything into it. And, I mean, we were huge fans of yours. We were there at most of your home games. And it's just been a real treat for me, and I'm sure for Jeff and Jack as well. Yep. So I just want to say thank you.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you. Right.
Yeah, you were a lot of fun to watch. Sometimes you said the offensive line protected you, but if somebody got to you, you think they have you down, and next thing you know, you're on the loose, and you got 15, 20-yard run there.
Listen, I'll never forget the Virginia Tech game. You chucked the guy over to get into the end zone. One of your best ever plays I ever watched.
Oh, yeah.
That was an insane one. I was not expecting that to happen. I saw like 2 guys converging. I'm like, oh.
Well, yeah, Brendan, it's been an honor speaking with you tonight, and we wish you the best of luck in the future, and we really thank you for your time.
I appreciate it, guys. Like I said, thanks for having me on here, and I appreciate for your guys' time too.
Yeah, have a great evening.
Have a great night.
And once again, thanks to Brennan Armstrong for joining us. Fun to talk to. I was just telling the guys off the air, so let me just say it on the air. Jack had mentioned something about, he was potentially going to be as high as a 4th-round draft pick. And, he's had a great attitude about, how everything played out. There's way too many folks who just have their own pity party or woe is me or want to blame everybody else for what you did not get. But as Kelly Kapowski said in the Saved by the Bell episode, where they look back in time with the new classes in there, when life hands you lemons, make lemonade. Like, you got to make the best of, what's put in front of you. If not, you're just going to be miserable or, like he said, full of stress. So a lot of fun, that interview, and he was a lot of fun to watch.
No question. Yeah, really enjoyed having him on. And like you said, to piggyback off of you, the mindset he has, the attitude is just unbelievable. You could tell he really did enjoy his time in Charlottesville. He didn't have no bad blood with any of his former teammates and Elliott, any of the new coaching staff. So he was awesome, Brandon. We appreciate you, man. That was awesome.
Yeah, and I was just impressed with him overall. And
As a
his,
human.
talking about his faith. I think that's an important thing, and a lot of people can relate. Because like you kind of said, Jeff, when you get situations, it's easy to look at sometimes. I'm sure, we've talked about, man, he could have gone and gone to the NFL, like you guys have both said. And hopefully, I really hope that he'll get another chance in some way, shape, or form with football, whether it be Canadian League, Arena League, UFL, any of those leagues. I would love to see him get an opportunity. And I'm just grateful that he was and he's just another kind of shining example of what a Virginia athlete is.
Yep. So that's going to take us out this evening. This is airing, I guess, at noon on Friday. So it's going to take us out this afternoon. Virginia plays Saturday against Georgia Tech in the honoring Tony Bennett.
We'll have the Bennett power in the building.
So, best of luck to the Who's. Sanchez is growing on me a little bit. I got a little bit of a soft spot going for him right now. I want him to I want to win out, but anyway, that's for another day. I gotta say, tune in Saturday to the Who's against Georgia Tech. Support the team. Got to support the team and go Who's.